Alright guys, so it's Handwritten Robot here. 1:44 in the AM. 29th of November 2011. I'm just gonna jump right into the heart of things. I've been studying about David and his life with God and his worship and how it applies to my life with God. And it's really been speaking to me, and how David's trials and tribulations and the things he goes through and his repenting and his sins teach me about mine. And God's been really laying it on my heart lately about it. And so I've really been studying, and I was going through Samuel today, and I was looking and I was reading, and I got to chapter 17. David and Goliath, one of the well-known stories we hear as a kid, as we hear all the time. So I was reading, and I read through chapter 17, and I looked at it, and it made me think. It made me realize some stuff of my life, my walk with Christ. Taught me a little something, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. So we'll go through the story. So we'll start here in David and Goliath. We'll start with Goliath. There's a war going on between the Philistines and the Israelites, and the Philistines have a man from Gath. His name is Goliath, and he's like 12, 13 feet tall. Huge, ridiculous big man. I mean, a man built for war, a warrior. Okay. He's got like this huge sword that's, I ain't no telling how big. He's got a javelin. He has a spear, and the head of the spear weighs like, I think it says 600 shekels. I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think I'll like put it under this video and tell you if I can remember. But I mean, he's just a big man, and I want to put emphasis on how big Goliath is first of all. Okay, like how big he is, and how scary he is to the Israelites. Okay, so not only do the Philistines have this, but Goliath, every day, he walks out from the Philistines into the middle, and he screams and yells at the Israelites. He taunts them, saying things like, well, if you come and beat me, I'll be your slave, but if I beat you, you're going to be my slave, and he goes out there and he taunts them, saying that, he could beat them and all this other stuff, and just talking about them and taunting them and screaming and yelling with a battle cry, like a man, huge, burly man, a warrior, yelling at these Israelites, and they're terrified. So first, what I want you to do is I want you to put yourself in the Israelite shoes. Okay? Let's think about it for a second. Let's think. If we're the Israelites, then Goliath is the enemy. Okay? And he is taunting us. The enemy is taunting us with crude statements to bring us down and low to a point of where we don't even want to get out of bed in the morning. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to smile. We don't want to read our Bibles or grow closer with God. We lose that desire for Christ. And I mean, do you understand now? Like, Goliath is the enemy. He's that big, bad thing that holds you back from everything, that scares you, puts that spirit of fear in you. Because see, my Goliath is lust. I struggle with lust. Lust is, that's my Goliath. And many nights when I'm on here, getting everything situated with school and doing these video blogs, and the times between and waiting for everything to upload and stuff like that, I have all this free time on the computer, and temptation is there. And it's a tough enemy to beat. And guys and girls both, y'all know. Some of y'all struggle with this. Some of this is your Goliath. And I understand. what I want to say though is, I want you to try to figure out what your Goliath is first. Let's think about how you are being attacked by the enemy and what it is. How is the enemy taunting you? Do you understand that it happens all the time? Even to the strongest Christians. Now, well, let's go ahead and say that we figured that out, okay? We know what your Goliath is, and he's out there taunting you. The enemy is taunting you with these statements and these crude statements that I was talking about, right? And so, we'll keep going here, and we got David, who's coming here, who comes to this battlefield to come to bring his brothers Jesse and I forgot, Jesse and Judah. Yeah, Jesse. I think it was not just. Well, I just know it was his three brothers. Three of his brothers that were in the army. I'm sorry, I can't look and read right this second, but it was three of his brothers that were there, and he went to go bring food and water, like, supplies, like not snacks, but things they needed. Because he was back home doing the shepherding thing. He had sheep, and he was like defending them, and he was doing that. And so he came up there to come to bring him their supplies, and he sees Jesse, and he walks up a little closer, and they talk a little bit. And Jesse's a little like, why are you up so close? Why are you looking at why are you, question him? Because he's tiny. He has no place here on the field because he's young. He's youth. He's tiny. There's no point for a kid being on the battlefield like that. And that's the way they see it. And so David then hears Goliath and why he's taunting the Israelites. He's taunting him. He's taunting every one of them, and Saul and his army. And David hears this, and David doesn't understand why no one's going. And so he comes up to Saul and he says, verse 32 says, and David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. David just said that I'll go fight him so that you won't lose any men, Saul. I'll go do that. I mean, let's think about that for a second. I want you to ponder for the next moment, because I'm going to have to stop this video, on what that means. And apply that to you. Put yourself in David's shoes, and Goliath is the enemy. Are you willing to step out and fight him?